and you we are Citizen Outbreak. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Citizen Outbreak, the podcast. What's going on, Matthew?
I'm all good, Rudy. How you doing?
What episode is this? 9? 10?
9, I think. Or 10?
9?
I think 9.
9? I don't know. We've been away.
Where's your color, man? You didn't get so much color.
What do you mean? I got some color. It's the lighting in here. The lighting in the
Okay.
studio is making me. This is episode.
What is it?
8? No,
No.
9.
No.
9.
It's
Episode
definitely-
9. You know what they say about episode 9, Matthew?
What do they say?
If you make it past episode 9 on the podcast,
Yeah.
it means you're going to keep going. Because usually people stop at episode 9. They stop and that's it. So if we continue past this episode, which we will, it's a good thing.
I think we're just getting going, Rudy.
I think we're just getting going. All right, listen, honestly, I thought I was going to come in today and I was like, I have like lame ass topics. And I was like, I didn't feel comfortable about today. But things have been blowing up the last 3 hours, and we have some breaking news. Okay, I didn't want to talk about this because it's just I've had enough. I've had enough talking about President Donald Trump, about the tariffs, about the shitty economy, about the stock market going down every day. But about an hour ago, Trump came out and said that he's going to take it easy on China.
Did you say that?
He's going to take it easy on China. He said tariffs on China will not be as high as 145%. He said it'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. They asked him if he's going to play hardball with China. He said no. He said China and other countries have to make a deal, which of course they will, but it seems like we're getting a little bit closer to deals.
What, did he say that by tweet?
No, he was I guess he's some kind of press thing he had.
Okay.
They also asked him about if he's going to, because a couple of days, yesterday he said he was going to fire, 2 days ago he said he was going to fire or try to get rid of Powell, or he was making insinuations that he could get Jerome Powell. And he said he's not going to fire him. He has no intentions of firing him, but he'd like to see him be more active on lowering the interest rates. If Powell doesn't, it's not the end. Now, this is a complete, turnaround from what he was been saying last couple of days. So it's really interesting because of those comments and because some other stuff that happened with Tesla shares earnings came out today. They were not good, but Elon also came out and said that he's going to be stepping away from Doge and he's going to be back in the Tesla offices starting in 2 weeks. Now, he did say that, but he said he's going to continue doing Doge as much as he's needed, but he's going to be concentrating more on Tesla and SpaceX, and he's going back. The shareholders were extremely happy, and the stock is doing nice after hours. We'll see what it does tomorrow. And on top of the Trump comments about Powell and China, things are looking good. I think they have a deal with India coming up because JD Vance came out and said that he was talking with India and they have something good going on. So I didn't want to talk about tariffs. I didn't want to talk about Donald Trump today, but we have that breaking news. And I just wanted to let you know that. What do you think?
About which part of it?
About everything. About Elon stepping down from Doge. About President Donald Trump making some kind of wiggle room to get China into the room, to make a deal.
I think a few things. One, the Doge thing, I have no idea what they accomplished, if they accomplished anything. Immediately the media and the institution, government institutions kind of put up this wall. They didn't really talk about it. They lied about it. They camouflaged a lot of their attacks, calling him Hitler because because they caught a frame of him putting his arm up. And, there was a lot of anecdotal stuff. You can go on the website and see what they're talking about cutting. Then you have the judges coming back saying they're not allowed to fire people. They're not allowed to close this department. They're challenging the authority under Article 2, what the president is and isn't allowed to do. So I don't really have a great idea about what Elon did with Doge, that's lasting. We have a fiat economy that lives on the printing press and the issuance of debt. And, our government's been a runaway spending, institutions forever now. Certainly in our lifetime, they just spend and no real cuts happen to spending. So, Doge at one point was talking about $2 trillion of savings. And then I think in the last cabinet meeting, he said they were going to achieve something like 150 billion. So, that's underwhelming. But, I'm not saying they haven't. I don't know what they've accomplished. They never really put together, and there was resistance to it all across the, Congress. Well, and
there is a tracker. There's a tracker, and on X, there's a account that every time they do a cut, it pops up, and they have been doing a lot of savings.
I've read about it. I just don't know if any of it's real, and I don't know what's lasting. I mean, I know that they've done stuff that judges say judges like from 3rd district of this, borough in Queens will say the federal government's not allowed to, do that or this. So I don't know what's lasting. The headline about the 150 billion versus 2 trillion. I don't know. I just don't know. I think if it convinced a bunch of people the obvious, which is that our government wastes our money on all kinds of ridiculous things, that's a net gain. And I think they've given a lot of anecdotes that show that to be obvious. On Powell, I think Powell's been a very political operative at the Fed. I think whether it's been in 2020, when inflation was going at 7%, whatever the bullshit number that they print, we all know it's a lot higher. He didn't do anything on rates to raise them. Certainly, when Biden was on his way out, he did that big cut, 50 bips. That looked suspect now with inflation as they track it being way down. He says there's no reason to go and cut rates. So, he's been a very political, Fed chair. A lot of these guys are. It's a political spot.
Everything is political now. Everything is political. You go brush your teeth, it's political.
And lastly on the Trump thing, I think it's what we talked about last time. I think Trump's had for the past 30 years, the guy's had very strong convictions about how he views global trade and how he thinks we're getting ripped off, to use his words. And I don't think he's articulated any kind of coherent view into what he's thinking or what strategy he's using, and people are left to decipher from tweets, retweets, and old Oprah appearances on what he's trying to do. I think China's economy, the world needs our markets. So, people are, these anecdotes about Japan and the EU and people knocking on our door trying to get clarity on what we want and not getting good, visibility. People are saying, well, that's kind of, it plays to our advantage. China's a house of cards, and they're going to fold. And the uncertainty is the actual hammer here, not so much the actual tariffs, but the uncertainty around what we're trying to accomplish, and all that is what's causing is what the actual strategy is. So if the strategy is uncertainty, he's certainly he's doing a good job on the uncertainty. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, China's in bad shape. Everybody who I'm talking to that deals with China, there's companies that canceled orders. There's companies that are not taking the orders. Factories in China that are closing down. They're in bad shape. They need us just as, I don't know how much we need. I mean, I guess we need them, but they need us pretty badly. Let's see what happens. I mean, look, historically, trade deals, it's not a 1, 2, 3 thing. It takes a long, long time to hammer out and make a deal on paper. Now, if he could get them to agree on something, then, we'll see. Trump likes to move quick. Let's see. But so far, the market's been going up and down, up and down, up and down, and people are nervous. Small business people are nervous. They get a lot of product from China. Big companies are nervous. I heard, I forgot which company, his clothing company, they moved everything from China over to Vietnam and I think Bangladesh and somewhere else. I forgot what company it was.
I mean, a lot of them were doing that. You know, a lot.
Yeah,
of
I don't know. Maybe Zara or something. I don't know. Don't quote me. All right, let's move on to the next topic. I was going to start with this one. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. The Pope Francis passed away the other day. You got to stop doing that.
What? The water? I get thirsty.
Pope Francis passed away. I'm not trying to laugh at Pope Francis passing, dying, but he was, 88 years old. He passed away. He was a controversial pope. A lot of people, he had a lot of things to say. He wasn't really a conservative pope. What did you hear about him?
I mean, I didn't study him so closely, but yeah, he definitely was more, I'd say, he brought in, his viewpoints on certain things were definitely new for the church. He
was also a little bit more political than other popes in the past. Other popes in the past were a little bit more on the neutral side. They did do, a little bit of politics here and there, but this guy actually, made comments.
I think we've had some in the past. Peter, Cold War, he was very much, anti-communism. I think this guy was very, made some very pointed comments towards Trump and towards MAGA and towards America. Whether it was about immigration policy, he got very specific on kind of domestic political issues, and also with views about how the church feels on homosexuality and LGBTQ and a whole host, COVID. I mean, he was getting very specific about a lot of political issues and said things, and I think was very opinionated, away from, very, very one-sided, I'd say. Yeah,
right,
I agree.
Right. All right. Well, rest in peace. We're going to look out to see who the next pope is. The other thing I don't understand is they keep putting these popes in. They're like almost 78, 79, 80.
They get the gig when they're pretty. It's like their last stop.
Yeah, and they only have a couple of years, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize this guy was there since 2013, right? But it feels like much shorter. I think he got, but he certainly hasn't been in good shape past bunch of years, right?
No, he has not been in good health. But
and it takes a while now, I think, for the next one. Rest in peace to
Pope Francis, 88. All right, let's see. So this is another topic that I didn't have prepared today, but it was breaking news, so I wanted to throw it in there. Maybe some people are going to be like, okay, this is not really important, but I think it's important because I don't like this guy. I mean, there's a lot of guys I don't like, but I don't like this guy. His name is Klaus Schwab.
Klaus Schwab.
Klaus Schwab.
He stepped down.
He stepped down from the World Economic Forum, but that wasn't the breaking news.
Yeah.
The breaking news is that he's a whistleblower came forward and now he's being investigated.
For what? Kids?
For well, maybe, but financial fraud and ethical misconduct. We don't know what the ethical misconduct is.
Isn't that his job? At the World he wrote a book about how we're not going to own anything and we're going to love it. It sounds
maybe like maybe that was the financial fraud.
By the way, I love that hat.
I was waiting for you to say something about my hat.
That's a dope hat.
Yeah, the Knicks.
I've never seen that. That's
the
a good
Knicks.
one.
The NBA playoffs. We're in the playoffs. The Knicks. They shouldn't have lost last night. The series is tied 1-1.
I have opinions on that too, by the way. But
all right,
that's a great hat.
We'll get the Knicks later.
I know I love the hat.
Speaking.
Klaus Schwab. Did you see who replaced him?
The Nestle guy.
But the guy's got like a glass eye or something.
Another evil guy.
Did you see his face?
I saw his face. I didn't know.
He looks like another Bond villain. I mean, Schwab dresses like Star Trek. This guy, these guys need like a hairless cat. The new one. He's got like a glass eyeball.
Yeah, he's got I don't know where they find all these villains, but it's insane. Klaus Schwab, George Soros,
No, but
Hillary Clinton.
They said they stepped down after 50 years. Who even knew that this fucking thing was around for 50 years?
I didn't know, but he was also 88 years old.
Well, that guy's a force for evil.
Right. So whistleblower, we don't know what's going on, but supposedly it had something to do with planes and yachts and other stuff. We don't know. I mean, this literally just came out like an hour and a half ago before we started taping.
So we'll own nothing. He'll keep it all is the name of the next book.
Yeah,
you'll own nothing.
Exactly.
I'll keep it all.
You'll own nothing, and I will keep it all. And by the way, you know what the Nestle guy came out and said? Well, not now, but previously.
What?
Because he's another one that has a catchphrase.
What's his catchphrase?
His catchphrase is, no human should have free water.
Really?
I mean, I don't have free water. I just got my water bill today, and it was a lot of money. So maybe he's onto something.
I mean, I don't think anybody does have free water, actually. Does anybody have free water?
The illegals have free water.
The illegals get free. They get free everything.
But yeah, I mean, theoretically, you should have free water. You can walk on the street, and maybe find a water fountain somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't drink the water.
Yeah.
The taxpayers are paying for it, but the water comes from the sky. Okay.
Yes.
Why are we paying for water? Why? Because it goes through some kind of thing? It doesn't. You're drinking shit. Okay. Manhattan has the best water, but then it goes into those lead pipes. No, fuck no. I'm not drinking tap water. It goes through the lead pipes. You don't know what's in the lead pipes.
I don't drink.
You don't know what kind of pipes.
I don't drink tap water anywhere.
No, I'm not drinking. But in Paris,
what's your favorite bottled water?
That green one. What's a Mountain?
Ooh, in the glass bottle.
Yeah, what is a Mountain? Whatever. And Saratoga is very nice too.
Saratoga's great. I like those blue bottles. Yeah. I like their sparkling because it has the little bubbles.
You got to stay away from the plastic ones, even though I'm being a hypocrite and I'm drinking out of a plastic bottle right now because there's a lot of microplastics in there.
You don't like it, but I pour all of it into here and I measure it.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. You got to drink a gallon of water a day.
That's it.
To keep the doctor away. All right.
Exactly.
Let's go on to, so we did Klaus Schwab. We did the Pope. We're on to one of your favorites.
Tell me.
Yeah. The guy who's running for mayor for the Democratic Party, former governor of New York, allegedly killed lots of people in the nursing homes, Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, Cuomo.
He's in trouble again.
Yeah, they just referred him, right?
The House committee, James Comer, has referred him to the Department of Justice, the DOJ, for criminal prosecution. Not good. Especially he's running for mayor. But you know what? That doesn't matter because the guy's getting endorsements left and right. Nobody cares. He got
New York tough, baby.
New York tough. He got somebody, I forgot who it was today, but he got endorsed. Anyway, James Comer claims what he doesn't claim. He's saying that Andrew Cuomo lied to Congress when he was testifying during the coronavirus pandemic. That he lied to Congress when they were discussing what he was doing on handling the nursing homes.
Yeah.
Hundreds of elderly died in the nursing homes.
Hundreds,
thousands. He didn't secure the nursing homes.
Well, he did. He locked them from the outside in.
Well, yeah, he did the reverse. And the people that were working there were bringing the COVID in, and then the old elderly were not allowed to get out. And I have friends that lost their grandparents and lost their parents, and it's very sad. And he, now he testified in front of Congress. I remember that was during COVID and right after COVID, and he testified. And they asked him what he was doing about it. And he gave a whole thing about New York is the safest place to be, and he rattled this whole thing off. And they asked what happened with the nursing homes, and Andrew Cuomo, being Andrew Cuomo, finger pointed.
Yeah, look, I mean, I knew people that owned nursing homes, and when that started to go the other way on him, they were feeling pressure from they were getting told like you're going to be in trouble, but they had the letter, from the state, from his desk, basically from his administration, saying you have to take, you have to do this, and so that saved them. But yeah, the policy was crazy. Not to mention we had that, plug the game, right? Anybody remember those ships? That ship that was
I got the ship right here.
Right, that was docked
ship,
at Chelsea Piers.
The ship
exactly
right here on the game. The ship right here. That's the COVID ship that President Donald Trump sent to Andrew Cuomo.
He saluted when he came, and that ship sat empty. Right, they didn't put anybody on there. So yeah, I mean, in New York and Pennsylvania, it's funny because it's going to be interesting. I really feel like anybody I speak to, and people have such short memories about everything, let alone COVID. But it's like, he put in place bail reform, right? A big part of the reason why, we have so many crazies running around New York right now, and why, people keep getting out is because of the bail reform law that he passed in Albany. That was his big initiative. That wasn't done at the mayoral level. They forget that. I know you're in real estate. He did the
stabilization law.
Yeah, stabilization law, which so I mean, this guy then he didn't COVID, and it's amazing. I mean, people really have short memories, and I do think people are, some of the deterioration in New York is obvious to a lot of people, and he's showing up as like the serious guy.
Yeah, he's showing up like, I'm going to fix New York. I'm the one who's going to fix New York. But he's the reason why New York
has his fingerprints all over it.
It was him and de Blasio, Batman and Robin.
I mean, this guy sat there,
or
shuttered
Joker
all the
and
businesses, wouldn't open the businesses. Remember those things? Remember when he didn't want to let people use the bathrooms, and then he was what counted as food and what didn't in the restaurants. I mean, this guy kept businesses shut, and then when people were looting those shuttered businesses, he was calling it civil rights, and he told cops to stand down. So I mean, stand down.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
didn't see horseback out there. That was that. Didn't So I mean, New Yorkers have a short memory. Everybody does. It's going to be interesting with the ranked. I don't know how much you want to get into this, but yeah. So I don't know what's going to come to your question about the DOJ looking in. I hope that they do. I hope that they look into this and it makes news, because it's crazy what happened.
So the question is, a couple questions. One, do they do anything? Does it affect his? Two, does it affect his mayoral race? New York has that crazy system of voting. You vote like for all the the people in the order that you wanted, and then they do
ranked voting.
The ranked voting, and then it's like can you explain the ranked voting to the people who aren't in New York?
I'll do my best. It's basically designed to allow for all kinds of shenanigans. But so you go and you do you rank your choices 1 through 4. So if I go up and this is in the primary, so for the Democrats, and then the person that gets the most, so you do this guy is my number 1, this guy is my number 2, this guy is my number 3, and this guy is my number 4. Whoever at the end of the first round gets the most number 1s, they make it, and then the second one, and then the other 2 drop off. Whoever, like I didn't get your number 1, your number 1 dropped off. If I was your number 2 and the other guy that I'm running against it was your number 3, I get your vote. So it stacks up. Your vote.
Does that make sense to you?
Well, so what it does is, like, Cuomo's going up against 3 socialists, right? He's going up against this Salami guy or Alalami. I don't know. No offense. I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know his name.
I can't pronounce his name either.
He's a socialist rapper, supporter of Hamas. I don't know what his name is, but he's like the number 2 guy in the Democratic primary right now. He was, he's an activist, and he's next. And then there's 2 other socialists. So it's this system. Cuomo could hurt, even though Cuomo was getting all these endorsements and everything. If turnout's big, and what happened, like I told you, if he, because of the ranked voting, Salami, you have to understand. I don't know if this is, I forget his name. I should probably look it up. I'm sorry, but that guy gets. Let's say that guy is number 2 overall, but he collects all the other people's votes because he's more in line with the other 2. He could take out Cuomo.
Right.
So yeah, Cuomo faces that. But then to the other part of your question, like ranked voting aside, do I think it hurts? I mean, you and I made a game, citizenoutbreak.com, to memorialize everything that happened, because things were going by so fast and all this crazy stuff was happening. And Rudy and I said, people should remember what happened so that, we don't forget it in the past. It's like they released last week on the White House Gov, right? And this Cuomo thing was part of it, about the origins of COVID and the responses to COVID. And, people just don't want to sink into this, which is wild to me.
Nobody's talking about that they released all this information about the crazy thing about COVID that they just dropped. Nobody's talking about it.
They really went. It's more than just the origin too. They went into like the response strategies and like what they knew and didn't know, and
what Fauci did and what he didn't do.
His wealth doubled during that. There's a lot of stuff.
Fauci went from total net worth of $7.6 million. That we know about, right? Because he's a shifty little guy. But so during COVID to 2023, his net worth surged to $15 million. So how do you go from I'm COVID and I'm the person who's quote unquote handling the COVID response? Where are you making the money?
Well, I don't know.
How do you double?
Cuomo got $4 million for a book.
But Cuomo wrote a book.
Well,
wrote a book. What did Fauci do?
Look, it's like I said, it's crazy. So people aren't. It's amazing, that people just aren't interested in really getting a audit of what happened. And everything we're going through right now. The stuff with the economy. To not include that very recent history. We inflated the currency by 40%. During COVID. This had massive, unquantifiable, catastrophic consequences on the human race, and people aren't that interested in sinking their teeth into it. They're not able to focus on it. And will it hurt Cuomo? I don't know. I don't know how much they're going to focus on it and who's going to do news about it, who's going to press him about it. I don't know. But evidence so far is that I think the ranked voting probably hurts him more.
So in the ranked voting, does it help Adams?
Well, so Adams dropped out of the Democratic. So Adams wasn't able to, because he was under indictment, he wasn't able to campaign. He wasn't able to do a lot of those things, right? So he wouldn't have done well in any polling. Cuomo's got the polling there, right? So he drops out. Now Cuomo is facing these socialists, right? These like three, radicals, and ranked voting should help everybody but Cuomo there.
Okay, but Adams didn't drop out. He just dropped out of the Democrat.
Well, he dropped out of the Democratic Party, right? So he's now an independent.
Right.
So now he's waiting. And the idea is, if Cuomo makes it out, I think, Cuomo versus Adams, I think Cuomo comes into there with, a lot of the support and the money.
So the ranking system, the ranking works for the Democratic Party for the primary. You vote for your top four, the top guy, whoever, whatever, however it works. Then he becomes the front runner for the Democratic Party, and he goes up against the Republican top runner.
Right. So
just Adams.
Yeah. So basically, right, Adams is hanging out there at the end, right? So voters rank their candidates first, second, third choice, and so on. First choice votes are counted. If a candidate gets more than 50% of first votes, so if more than 50% of the Democratic voters in that primary say that Cuomo is number one, okay, then he wins that primary. But if there's no majority, they first eliminate the lowest, okay? So the person with the least amount of first votes is eliminated. Okay, and then the votes are reassigned. So people who picked, if you voted for Joe and he got the least amount of first votes, he's gone. And whoever you voted as second, right? So if you put like the salami guy first, and then the guy after him is, or you put Joe first and Mike second, and Joe loses, but Mike is second, then your second choice goes to the guy that moved ahead, right? Is that clear?
Yeah.
And that continues until somebody gets over 50%.
For
So
the Democratic Party.
Right. So for the Democratic Party, and so
and then the winner of that goes up against the Republican winner and Adams.
right, there's going to be a Republican, and then there's going to and then Adams is the independent.
And in that there is no ranking vote. It's just straight up.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the GOP does.
No, not GOP, but between the three, is it a ranking vote? No, that's straight up.
Then it's an election.
Then it's election.
That's an election, right? So the ranked voting is in the primary.
Okay, so all joking aside, we don't want the other people to beat Cuomo.
No, the idea is so.
So the idea is to get one of the shitty guys, Salami and whoever?
I think what Adams would be counting on is that if this ranked voting can get one of these other guys ahead, now like you're looking, guys like you, me, everybody else is sitting there saying, well, wait a second, I got Adams or Silwa. Silwa is like, nowhere, right? He's the Republican. The Republican is not doing it, but we got Adams, and we don't want, so everybody that would have gone for Cuomo is going to come back to Adams, and Adams is hoping, well, the people that are for Silwa, they're going to understand Silwa doesn't have the chance. They're going to come to me.
Silwa's running again?
Yeah, the Republicans so far.
And nobody else? No, there's nobody else on the Republican side?
No, it's Silwa.
Oh, fuck.
But the idea is, so Adams's logic is, basically if one of these socialists get past Cuomo, then I'm sitting here and I'm going to be able to get some pull from the Republican Party. And you see him, he just did that show with Lara Trump. I think he's been on these shows with Schultz, and he's cozying up on crypto and Trump, and he's talking out, supporting of ICE and their initiative. So the idea is if the socialists, beat Cuomo with the ranked voting and show up, people are going to want Adams big time against them. And he doesn't have to go head to head with Cuomo.
Yeah, well,
I think
New York's fucked. New York's fucked.
Yeah, New York. I mean, these are kind of crazy choices.
There's nobody.
The ranked voting is nuts. I mean, I don't. And most, the ranked voting is really crazy.
It's crazy, but I'm surprised that nobody's like, enough is enough. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to do something for New York. Curtis Sliwa sucks.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Mayor of New York, not flaunting some of the ones we've had recently, but it's a job. Like you gotta, so a lot of successful people out there that, they don't want to go in and grind on a lot of these things. It's a real job. Like
there's got to be one person that's going to,
The other thing that's very real about it is like you look at city council. City council is, you can't even designate these people as Democrats. I mean, today's Democratic Party.
No, city council's terrible. Even Cuomo came out and said that city council's horrible.
But that's the thing. I mean, you could throw Rambo into the mix here, and he's dealing with these radicals at city council. I mean, and that's why in our political system, you see all these, like when you see these headlines, like a Soros, DA or people attacking like DAs, because that's where like the city council level is where a lot of the money goes, like from the institute, like, because nobody shows up. Like I have no idea when people are running for city council, and that's intentional. Local politics, people have no idea. Even mayoral races, like people don't go out and really turn up for local issues like you would think they would, right? You step outside of your door, there's trash, there's crime, you think that's in your face, but people get much more pumped up talking about like, abortion and these federal issues because, they're advertised a lot more than like, hey, go vote for the 16th district in Lower Junction, Maryland, because there's a new DA that's, so city council is a big, it's tough to overcome city council. I mean, any mayor that wanted to do anything. You have 54, I think you got 51 of them, like we're all in on defunding police. And like, that's where all that stuff comes from.
Yeah, we in previous podcasts you were going to find out when these elections are, and you didn't find out. You got homework, buddy. You got homework. Write it down.
But you see that even me. We're talking about it. Even me. I'm not even pumped up enough to tell.
Hey, you got to find out. We got to tell the people.
I know.
We got to tell the people. We got to put it out there. Go out and vote. They keep killing New York. They keep killing New York. You know, this is what happens.
It is real with the ranked voting that these socialist guys, like, they're not such a long shot. By the way, just real quick, Adams almost lost on the first round of the last one, and there was that lady that was really like all in on it was funny because it was like right after the 2020 general presidential election with Trump talking about rigged, and Adams said there were like 60,000 votes or 80,000 or 100,000 votes that were fake. And they went and he found and they redid it, and like he caught the the error, and he got through.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like the ranked voting system is crazy.
We're gonna keep an eye on this DOJ investigation, or not investigation, but if they're gonna do something about
charging Cuomo,
charging Cuomo, and see what happens.
Wild.
Yeah, it'll be wild. Speaking of charging,
yes.
You see what's going on with this MS-13? I'm going to put it in quotes, MS-13 gang member. His name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Is that the one that went? He's the one that went back to El Salvador?
He didn't go back to El Salvador. They sent him back to El Salvador. Right. So I'm gonna shoot straight from the hip.
Shoot straight from the hip.
Okay. You're not gonna like what I'm gonna say.
I'm probably gonna like what you have to say.
No, you're not.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. That's good.
So one side of me, right?
Yeah.
Yes, what they are doing is good. You take the bad people and you send them out. You take the MS-13, the Tres Aragua, whatever they're fucking called, all the gangbangers, you line them up, you put them on the plane, you send them to El Salvador, send them to, I don't give a fuck. Send them out of here, okay? I'm all for it, okay? Yes, get them the fuck out of here. Send them out. Get them out. I don't care how you do it, get them out, right? And the fact that there's Democrats that are standing up for gangbangers, that's a problem. That's a problem. My lights are sorry.
I don't see it.
So that's a problem that you don't stand up for a kid that's dying of cancer, when the president's talking, and you don't do anything about any of these victims that were killed or raped or robbed by these gangbangers. You do nothing, but you fly down to El Salvador.
Yeah, there's one like staying. She says she's not coming back.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. You got the first guy that went out. This guy, the senator from Maryland, Chris Von Holler.
Yeah.
He flies down because he wanted a meeting with the president of El Salvador here, and he's like, I demand the meeting. I want a meeting. And then he flies down there and he gets no meeting. But then I don't know how he ends up talking to this Kilmar guy.
Yeah, they went out for coffee or something.
No, they had margaritas.
Yeah, I think they said that those were put in. Were they not?
He says they were staged.
Claims that they were No, he claims that somebody came over and put them on the table.
He says that they were staged. He says that they were staged. That somebody put. Of course not. Of course not. But meanwhile, they didn't look like margaritas. They look like water with salt on the rims. I don't know. Maybe that's a special drink that they have. But meanwhile, this guy looks like he's clean and crisp for some guy who's sitting in jail. No, the senator looks like he was in jail. The MS-13 guy looks like crisp. He's wearing a new hat. He's wearing new clothes. He looks great. Then you got these four members of Congress. Ansari, Yasmin Ansari from Arizona, Maxine Dexter from Oregon, Maxwell Frost from Florida, Robert Garcia from California. They flew down there, and then I think it's
but there's a chick too that wants to stay.
She wants to stay now. She said, I forgot which one it is, which one of these idiots it is. It's either Maxine or it's got to be Maxine or Yasmin. It's either Yasmin or Maxine. I don't know which one it is. I'm going to go with Yasmin, probably. Anyway,
she's staying.
She says, I'm not leaving unless this guy gets released.
Where's she staying there?
Like, it's taxpayer money, so she's probably staying in a Four Seasons. I don't know.
Right. DOJ should have done an audit on this.
Wouldn't it be funny if they deported her out of El Salvador?
There's a few things like they're there did they enter legally into El Salvador? But so what's the thing I don't like that you're going to say?
I don't think the guy should have been deported.
But why?
Okay, so
see, I don't really understand the story.
All right, so I looked into the story. He's not a good guy.
He's
not
sent
a good guy.
on the he was sent on that like the Con Airplane, right?
Yeah, he was sent on the Con Airplane. They removed him. They brought, you know, but I mean, I looked at a bunch of stuff about him, and you know, is he a bad guy? Yeah, he's a very bad guy. Did he do anything? Look, he's never been convicted of any crime. He's been in the U.S. for 14 years. He's got 3 kids. He's been working in construction the whole time he's been here. Well, maybe not only construction. Maybe he's been doing something else. In October of 2019, he applied for asylum. Okay, he applied for asylum. He was not granted asylum in 2019.
But he wasn't here before that, right?
He's been here before that, but in 2019 he applied for asylum. He did not get asylum. Instead, he was granted what's called a withholding of removal. I think it's similar to asylum, but you don't get removed.
Just hang out. Don't worry. Just hang out.
Yeah, don't worry. Hang out. You'll be okay. Here's where it gets a little. So he came in illegally in 2012. He did come in illegally. He stayed illegally. He was working these construction jobs. You know, people you drive over to Home Depot or Lowe's, and you with your pick. Hey man, get in the truck. We're gonna do a construction. You know. And he did come in illegally. Here's where it gets dicey. Here's the dicey part. Apparently, when he was in El Salvador prior to coming in, he was a member of some kind of, I think it's a gang. It's called the Barrio 18.
I thought he was with MS-13.
No. I'm saying in El Salvador, he was part of this Barrio 18. He was either part of it, but I don't know. But his reasoning for staying asylum is he was afraid to go back to El Salvador because of this Barrio 18. Like he was afraid they were going to kill him. So I don't know if he was in it or he did something to cross them, but they were hunting him and he was afraid to go back. And that's why his family is worried for him that this Barrio 18 gang
is going to get him in that Supermax.
Right. So, okay, now here's another dicey part. Okay. He had the tattoos, the MS-13 tattoos, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's what they're saying. He's part of MS-13, but he was never actually part of MS-13. He was because he was trying to get into it, but they weren't letting him into it. He was like
MS-13 have like a spokesperson or something that said that?
I guess so, because he was his rank was called Chicayo. I don't know. My Spanish.
How do we know?
I did research on it today. It was.
No, but I'm saying, does MS-13 made a statement?
Well, apparently they were talking to somebody, but apparently his rank was Chicayo, and he was yet to be initiated into MS-13.
Oh, so that's like a new recruit.
He was a new recruit. He was what do they call it in the biker gangs? He was a prospect.
Fresh meat, yeah.
No, prospect. He's got to do the thing.
Yeah,
so he had the tattoos, but he wasn't yet in the gang. So he was probably ready to get into the gang and then ready to do some bad stuff. So they got him before he did the bad stuff, right?
Okay.
Okay. So, but here's the other weird part. They're claiming that he was part of this MS-13 group called the Western Clique. Are they coming to get you over there?
I'm in the city.
So the weird thing is, this guy was not from New York, but this Western Clique MS-13, they are from New York. So they're trying to figure out how is he related to this.
Wait a second. He's a prospect, maybe, for MS-13.
For this Western Clique that's based out of New York. But he's not from New York.
But is Western Clique an offshoot of MS-13 or something?
No, it's one of their, MS-13 has different
chapters,
and this was the New York chapter. And apparently,
so he's a prospect. Maybe he might be a prospect for this.
He might be a prospect. I'm going to tell you why he's a bad guy. Okay, in 2021, his girlfriend or wife, I don't remember. I don't really know who she is. I couldn't figure it out if she's a wife, but he's got 3 kids with her. Jennifer Vasquez Sura. He physically attacked her multiple occasions. He attacked her multiple. He beat her, whatever. I don't know. Allegedly, I don't know what it is. But she didn't follow through with pressing the charges. So he never got convicted for anything for that. Okay. He never got convicted for that.
So he's never been convicted of a crime since he's
he's been close. He's been close. So in 2022, he was pulled over by a trooper, and he had a couple guys in the car with him, and they asked who they were. And they're saying he was potentially involved in human smuggling or trafficking. Okay, this happened in Maryland by his home. Okay.
Okay.
So the subject was observed speeding and unable to maintain its lane, and subsequently pulled over. Maybe he was drunk. I don't know. Allegedly. Encountering officer decided not to cite the subject for driving infractions, but gave him a warning citation for driving with an expired driver's license. The memo continues.
How did you get a driver's license?
I'm getting to that.
Okay, sorry.
Maryland issues driver's licenses to illegal aliens. Yes, Maryland, you did it. You did it. During the interview, subject pretended to speak less English than he was capable of and attempted to put encountering officer off track by responding to questions with questions. Sorry. How you doing, Matt?
How you doing, Rudy?
How you doing, Matt?
How are you?
How are you?
How are you?
What's that?
¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás? When asked what relationship he had with the registered owner of the vehicle, subject replied, the owner of the vehicle is his boss and he works in constructions. There was no luggage in the vehicle, but he's suspected of human trafficking. There's no record showing whether President Joe Biden, DHS ever followed up with enforcing the matter. The initial review determined that Abrego Garcia was a suspected alien and referred to his matter to review to passport control. 3 weeks later, on December 27, 2022, Homeland updated its record to urge all personnel who encountered Abrego Garcia in the future to escort to secondary, term referring to investigative procedures used when someone is suspected of wrongdoing is encountered at a port entry or by Border Patrol.
Okay, so what's the net?
The net is I don't see that this guy really did anything wrong except he was trying to become a gang member, and he beat his wife. I mean, this pulling over of that he was drunk, but he wasn't drunk because they didn't get him on any drunk driving. So what did he do? What did he do besides being an illegal alien?
Well, that's against the law.
It's not against the law.
It is against the law.
Who says it's against the law?
It's against federal law to be an illegal alien.
The guy had a driver's license.
I get it. States have acted it's the opposition. They're acting in we have a sanctuary city, and there's cities all across the country.
Look, let's not play devil's advocate here, but here's the thing: are there illegals in America? Yes. Are there bad illegals in America? Yes. Are there really bad guys? Yes.
Here's what I'll say about it. And on the weeds of this one, I don't know whether he was a gang member, prospect gang member. I'll take your. I haven't looked that close. I'll take your word for it on the fact that on the argument that he's not. What I'll say is this: you look across Europe, the illegal and invited illegal immigration into those different countries have totally changed those countries. London, England is a full on Sharia law exists in large swaths of that country. They're changing a lot about the society there. All across Europe, this is an issue, the illegal immigration, and it's changed the sovereign identity of those nations. And we've seen it happening here. Both parties, forever have kind of argued about it, but we've seen this wave coming in. I think that it's not Biden, obviously, the walls were up. Come on in, and we're going to count you guys as job creators and towards the GDP. We're going to pad our numbers using the illegals. I think it's a big problem. I think that a lot of, I don't buy into that they're going to do these mass deportations. I never did. I think that where they're going for points on the optics to try and change the culture of illegal immigration, that's good. I think if this guy was wrongfully included on the Con Air flight, bring him back. If Maryland wants him so bad, let them have it. I think, but I think it's better that prospects or members of these types of organizations think that the invitation is no longer extended to them.
So when he was arrested this for deportation, he was arrested with 2 other well-known members of the vicious MS-13 gang.
I mean, look,
and he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money on it, covering his ears and mouth and eyes of the presidents of various currency denomination. This is a known MS-13 gang symbol of hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. I mean, the guy's wearing a sweatshirt. He's got tattoos.
Look, I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether he is or isn't. I mean, like I said.
Have you ever met somebody with one of those teardrop tattoos on their eyes?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, so you know what that means, right?
Yeah.
It means you killed somebody. Right. So I've seen people that have had this teardrop tattoo that have not killed anybody. They just got a teardrop tattoo because they thought it was cool.
Yeah, but I mean, tattoos have always been a tool, part of the kit that they use to identify, what affiliation you're with and all that, because it is a language. I mean, when they go to prison, tattoos are part of the language to show who you're with. That's a real thing.
Right, it's a real thing. It's also what you wear. You got the Crips and the Bloods. You wear red. You wear blue.
And, they had the guy Holman on there. He's saying it's not the only thing we look for. But it is. I mean, it's one of the things. I'm with you. Like, I don't. The reality is, I don't think any kind of mass deportation project is going on. I think that they want to show, that the culture of open borders is not here anymore, which I'm for.
They promised. Listen, when President Donald Trump was campaigning, he said there's going to be mass deportations, mass. When when they said how are you going to do it, he said you're going to see. We haven't seen mass deportations, which I agree. I agree. I don't think we should have I think there's good people that are here, and we need them here. We need those type of people that are here. They're hard workers. And then you have the bad people, the gangbangers, the bad people, the people who snuck in here illegally. But if you've been here for 12, 14 years, I think, maybe there's some kind of, you turn a blind eye.
I mean, the issue with that is, I mean, we all saw those images coming across the border, and they're real. I mean, I heard stories, people in Texas just throwing their keys because they had all kinds of. So look, you go to Europe and you see what's going on there. I mean,
it's terrible.
Illegal immigration. And it's not conjecture. I mean, Biden administration was using all the data from the jobs and stuff to go towards our GDP. I mean, that's replacing. So the idea that we should just have this unfettered walk into our country, I don't think is good for anybody.
No.
The ones that are here, I don't think that it's realistic to expect that anybody's going to send them all on mass deportations. I don't think that that's a realistic thing.
Well, I'm going to keep an eye on this gangbanger MS-13 and see what happens. Maybe we'll have an update soon, but maybe this congresswoman, maybe she'll stay there and we'll get a new congresswoman to replace her here. I don't know. Or
I'll tell you what, I'll trade her for him. Let them keep her. We'll take him back.
We could do that. We could do that.
I'm with you there.
We could do that.
I'd send all of Congress back and pretty much take for, I don't know. I'd take some MS-13 for all of our Congress.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Well, that's a wrap for episode 9. The Knicks hat. You think the Knicks are going to pull out of the first round?
Oh, I got a lot of opinions about the Knicks right now.
Yeah, they didn't look too good yesterday.
You know what it is? They have like this entitled attitude, and I don't really get it. They haven't done anything. Like when Hart and the whole NBA, like it's the 3-pointers and all. It's not like pretty to watch compared to the era we grew up in. But like I noticed that these guys, when they come up to the interviews, they show up. They've got this attitude, like and they haven't done anything. Like,
well, no, this is
the first round.
And guess what?
And now yesterday,
right? But that attitude is going to be worse now with the NIL and college, and
But I love that hat, and I love the Knicks as an organization.
There's another topic we're going to save it for next time because I got a whole thing talking about college and money, NIL, and that whole Trump taking money away from Harvard and all these elite schools. We're going to talk about it next week. We don't have enough time because we've been going for an hour, buddy. We've been going on for an hour. So let's call it a wrap. Again, citizenoutbreak.com. Buy the game. Tell your friends to follow us, listen to us. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're on Instagram. And Citizen Outbreak. Look for us. TikTok everywhere. All right. Have a good night.